Agile Intervision is a format that can be quite powerful in a very short period of time, really. But it can also be a little awkward at first because it's quite different than the way that we usually interact. So David and Michael and I would like to give you an introduction to how the format works with regard to the particular kind of feedback that's used in it. And it's a feedback that's based only on observations. So first, let me fill you in about how the format is structured. So you know, we're going to give you some excerpts from an intervision, and so you have a little context for what we're doing. And then talk about how the feedback works. The intervision format that David and Michael have developed together with Falk here in Germany has been used for over a year in live meetups. And it consists of 30 minutes focused on receiving a case from somebody who brings a case. We call this person the case giver. And the case giver has 7 minutes to explain to us, give us the context and explain what they're puzzled about, or what their opportunity is, what their challenge is in the situation. And during those 7 minutes, the people who are silent, the other 3, 4, 5 people, are listening with all their senses, and some people will make notes. I like to keep notes because it helps me to, gives me a feedback loop while I'm observing. And I'm observing not only the story that they're telling, which is part of what's coming in, but also the way they're telling it. The body language, the tone of voice, the kind of words that they use, the way they put the pieces of the story together. All of those things contain information that the case giver may not be aware of because they've been looking at the case for a while. And so I'm hearing it fresh. I don't work in that context. And so I can only reflect back what is coming in from the case giver. So it's really a mirror back to the speaker of what they're relaying in all these different channels. And so at the end of the 7 minutes of presenting the case, there's another short period where the observers first choose 1 or 2 observations that they'd like to share. And then they share only observations that come in with the senses or with intuition. So something that you heard, something that you saw, maybe something that you didn't hear. It may be an intuition, a gut feel that came up as you were listening. What it doesn't include are interpretations. And that's the challenge, is to stop before determining what those things mean, but simply to reflect back like a mirror what came through as the speaker was talking about this case. We especially want to avoid, and I mean, we're all problem solvers, right? So we'd all love to solve the problem for this person, but that isn't part of the format. So no suggestions, no recommendations. I mean, I've always got a list in the back of my mind. Oh, there's this great book, or I know this article. That has to disappear because it's distracting me from perceiving what's happening as the person speaks to me. It's taking me inside my head. And so there's an aspect of an act of the will to continue to come back and really give this person the gift of my full attention. Now, part of this format includes a confidentiality agreement among the participants before the first case begins. And so this case is a little bit different. We've taken into account the fact that this is going to be shared online. And so we've handled confidentiality in a different way. But rest assured that the stories that are shared in one of these intervision sessions are subject to the Las Vegas rule. So whatever happens in intervision stays in intervision.
Okay, so I will present the case today. So I have a customer who approached me saying, well, we have a team that is not performing as we think it should. And luckily we have one other team that is performing as it should. Can you make the not performing team like the performing team? Can you fix the broken team? That's the initial question. There is a sponsorship of the C-level. So there's one of the three C-level persons who is actively sponsoring Agile here. He has not been too eagerly involved yet. My direct contact is like the department lead of one of those teams. And there is a second department lead of one of the other teams involved at the moment. I'm puzzled by how to progress and how to help them to find a good solution here. I will try to describe the situation in the not performing team a little bit better. The not performing team has the legacy part of the software, so the part that is a couple years old. The actual team dynamics here is I'm uncovering that by every day that I work with them, but the situation is not yet 100% clear. There have been a lot of discussions, especially on the management level, I call it. So product owners, scrum masters, these department leads, the two ones, and the C-level person, about how to progress, how to cut the teams and the tasks for the teams. But so far, there was no big involvement of the teams themselves. Yeah, so at the moment, it looks like that the focus goes from the initial question of can you fix the one team? It goes more towards, do we need a third team to actually do what we are asked to do? Yeah, still I'm puzzled by how to actually get them to involve the people better instead of trying to solve the problem themselves. Yes, I think that's it for now. I think there's 2 more minutes, which I don't know how to fill right now. So I think that's basically the whole story at the moment.
Just give it a minute more and see if anything else comes up.
Okay, I do. I'm not sure if that's important, but there is another department involved. It's not doing IT themselves; they're doing marketing, and they're starting to picking up. I would call it agile ideas, or like working with post-its, visualization, stuff like that. but the shared work is not that big. It's more an exchange of ideas than an exchange of work, or than a chain of work here on that part. The two other C-level guys are, at least at the moment, not really into that idea, and I don't have enough of, I don't have much of talking with them. So there's not much time with the two other guys.
I wonder if you could say more about that. What makes this difficult for you? Because all we can do here is work with you, right?
Yes. So I have the feeling that I should work more with the management, but I don't have the exposure here. So the upper management, like the C-level, and it's really difficult to get them involved and hooked up with the whole thing. Instead of trying to solve it low level, which we tried so far, this doesn't feel right for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So time's up. And I could offer, well, several observations, but two that struck me especially. One thing that I noted is that you switched your wording. You started with a well-performing and a not so well-performing team, and ended up by calling the not so well-performing team the not performing team. That was one observation, which might be of interest. And the other observation is about the different levels. You were talking about people having discussions on the management level about how the teams and the work should be structured. And you explicitly named the PO, the Scrum Master, and the senior executives as management level. And after calling out PO and Scrum Master, you said not the teams themselves. So I don't know if that has something to say, but it struck me that this sounds as if PO and SM are not on the team in your current worldview of that situation. So those are two observations that I got from the story you told so far.
That's interesting. I stumbled also when David said that about the PO but I didn't know why, but you caught it. That's good.
Thank you.
And I was more noticing the mood, which was felt like very much an explanation. I'm relatively new. I don't have insight into this. I don't have connections to that yet. Like there was a sense of beginning. And I guess what I was sort of, what I'm dreaming of to make this really exciting and dynamic would be we. I didn't have a sense of, I had a sense of atomic, like there's the C-level and there's the leadership and there's this team and that team and you as an observer. And I didn't have a sense of we going somewhere together yet. You're still feeling out the pieces and you don't yet have the big picture. You said a couple of times, you're still looking for that. And there was a lot of calmness there, and observation was what I noticed. And yet your question was, how do I get them to involve other people better rather than trying to fix it themselves? And that question sounded a little lonely.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
it was still helpful. Even the case is over a year old. And
so if this was a real session, you would now have the opportunity to dig into those observations deeper. Would you like to?
So the observation from you, Michael, on the not performing versus not so well performing team is right in the meaning of that I don't really know how to put it, like how to respectfully call it. My personal opinion here is that they're not performing and not even worth the money they cost at the moment. So bluntly speaking, they burn the money without taking care of what they should do. But that's my personal opinion, and the conflict here is not yet open. That might be one of the next steps to actually get the team performing, to actually put it on the table. But so far, we try to touch it without touching it. What was really valuable and what I like to dig a bit more into is the observation that product owner and Scrum Master are they part of the team, or the observation that they does not seem to be. And in fact, that's partly right. So the Scrum Master is fairly new here, and product owner has been there a while, but actually the product owner of the good performing team is really part of the team. They really work together in good teamwork, but the other team does not really have a clear product owner at the moment. It's not really clear who it is and to what degree he is in the team, outside of the team. Part of that role is fulfilled by the department head that owns this team. So he's the hierarchical manager and, like, let's say 20% of the team product owner. And we have other people here that fulfill other parts of the product owner role. So there seemed to be an issue in product ownership definitely here, and in performance on the team itself, like inside of the team. There definitely is a friction here between management and team. So they talk about each other, but not with each other. And as I further think of it, I think that the idea of a shared vision, or at least to refresh the vision that might be there, like to dig it out, could be a starting point here to then have the discussion how to organize around the shared vision to actually perform the task we are having here. So we'll see some, I don't know, open space, World Cafe, whatever, to actually uncover what's still there of the we, because I'm very sure they have a strong we. If the PO/Scrum Master is not real part of the team, try to get them together again, like in the team, or at least together with the management again, so that the friction gets smaller. And I combined it with the idea of uncovering the shared vision that I believe is there, because it's a quite young company. They're not that old that they don't know why they're there anymore. They do know why they are there. So uncover this why to actually get some self-organization around it. So digging here into the distance between management and team by getting them on the same table, wordly meaning, is, I think, a good try at least. We'll see how that works. And the other thing that was in here is that the PO role is not clear, at least not for this team. It's clear for the other one, but not for this one. So to do some clarification of roles, some kind of talks here. Okay, thank you so far. That was helpful and interesting for me.
Okay. Would you like some more observations? I would have to offer at least one. You almost verbatim quoted that you have an elephant in the room. You told us that you're talking about things without talking about them. So that's your words. I don't know if you noticed that, but that was very, very clearly discernible for me. And the other thing is that you talked about the two POs as if they were very, very far apart from each other. There seems to be, from your words, no connection at all. I don't know if that reflects the reality, but they seem to live in different worlds.
And my observation is related to yours, Michael, which is the flip side, that when David said, get it out in the open, he seemed to come alive. You seem to sort of breathe and be more, the way I know you. And so that's a clue of some sort.
Okay, thanks so far.
Okay.
You're welcome. I must admit, sometimes it's hard for me to stop at the observation and not draw a conclusion. And yet when I breathe and I sort of just wait and leave that space, there's always good stuff that comes back from the person who's listening, because the work happens inside. So the work is happening inside David, and that's the only place that work is valuable. It doesn't matter how clever I am. And so every time I do this, I'm learning that lesson again, because I think it's human nature to want to jump in and say, no, wait, do this. But it's really not needed. Anybody else?
For me, the important part is really to be aware of my own perceptions and really to listen and watch closely to the person talking. And actually, during this, I changed my style of taking notes. When I started this work, I noted down ideas of what he could do or what she could do. And nowadays, my notes only or mostly are what did I really see and what surprised me and what did I miss in the person talking. So actually my whole style of watching the communication has changed.
And it's a slow kind of listening that we don't often get when we're in problem-solving mode. There's a room to be slow, and that's actually one of the features of doing this very often.
I find it very interesting in each of the roles. So if I'm case giver, it's always surprised me again how powerful this kind of feedback is, and how that really helps to get me and myself thinking about it instead of. So this really stops me from going into arguing mode here and helps getting reflection up and running. And it's especially strikes me if I have a feedback giver that has done a couple of rounds of intervision, because the feedback tends to get more structured, more to the point, well selected. It's not like just everything that surprised me. It's just like two carefully selected topics. So I don't get overwhelmed by all the parts and all the differentiations. So like this very, very precise, very to the point, well structured helps at least me a lot to get thinking again.
All right. Anything else?
Okay.
Yeah. So as a feedback giver, so it's very difficult for me to keep that state of mind to actually keep listening and not interpreting and going into a suggestion mode. So it demands a lot of mindfulness probably to actually stay there and be patient and listen, because 7 minutes is long. But it helps me, even if I'm in the seat of a feedback giver or a listener in this case, to actually learn and train my skills that I need every day. Because listening is a big part of my job also.
There can be a surprising amount of learning in a 30-minute intervision in all the roles.
Yeah.
For me, that's one of the great things, that although we only have 30 minutes of interaction on the case, most of the work happens in the night afterwards till the next morning, when people realize what they were actually communicating, and when things get triggered. So that's what I like in this format. But you have this 30 seconds of interaction, but a really long tail of things that happen inside the people who do that.
The people we've worked with are typically quite delighted with the insights that they come away with. I hope you'll join us and come and try it.